Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with some more news from Destiny Rise of Iron. Before we get to some more information over here, I just want to point out, folks, we are extremely close to 250 subs on this channel and 100,000 views as well. As I last curtain checked on my channel, we're about 6 away from 250. So hopefully if we reach either 250 subs or 100,000 views by September 19th, I will be doing at least 2 videos to start off before we begin with Supremacy. The first one will be a massive Day 1 engram opening on September 20th. That's right at launch. And if they have a cinematic, the in-game cinematic, I will be recording that. I'm going to both upload it ASAP. So those will be the 2 specials coming our way. Now, enough talking about that. Let's get to some news regarding Archon's Forge. Excuse me. So, Archon's Forge is a brand new PvE event, and obviously it's the same for both Prison of Elders and Court of Oryx. So, before we explain the rewards and everything here, we got 2 people looking to get a much more demonstration and more info regarding Archon's Forge. We have world designer Dan Callan and artist level designer Alex May to go into a deeper dive called Archon's Forge here. They'll be discussing the thought process of designing the space, the development history, and some more interesting details highlighting some fallen culture. Now after the video, I will be explaining 2 new materials that will be available to Rise of Iron starting September 20th. Enjoy the video, everybody. I'll talk to you after the video.
I'm Dan Callan, and I'm a world designer on Rise of Iron.
I'm Alex May, and I'm a world artist and level designer for the Rise of Iron.
So this is the Archon's Forge. It is a location in the Plaguelands patrol activity, and also I think you visit here at the apex of our story. We have you coming
it's
here.
Like the penultimate area.
When you're in the Plaguelands patrolling around, after you complete the story campaign, you'll notice that splicers will start dropping items called SIVA samples or SIVA offerings. A player will pick up one of these and be directed to go to the Archon's Forge. And once they have one of those items in their inventory, depending on the category and the quality and refinement of the sample, they will get a unique encounter based on that. So the longest any of these encounters can last is 5 minutes. We have encounters for every splicer unit type, and we have unique bosses for all of our encounters as well. Some of them have some abilities you haven't seen before. There will be unique rewards for completing Archon's Forge encounters.
The rest of the Plaguelands is very much blizzard, in your face all the time, super cold. When you get into the fortress area, it starts to get a little warmer. You get the slag runoff happening, the lava streams. I thought it would be a nice contrast that you have this cold, snowy exterior, and then when you come inside, it gets super hot and muggy and oppressive.
Yeah, and it also has some significance in
yes.
campaign.
So it is a significant location to the Splicers. There is a reason why they built the fortress here and not anywhere else. All the fallen architecture you've seen up to this point has been ships or stuff that they've stolen or jerry-rigged. Like, this is the first time you've seen them actually construct something. Outside of the Prison of Elders, that is. It was a really cool opportunity to have this, like, Lord of the Rings, Mordor feel, this Tower of Sauron out in the distance. Originally, this was the inside of the castle. It was part of the rest of the bubble, and so you could seamlessly go up in here, and things change over the course of development, and we find that some things are more practical than others, and eventually we had to split it into its own level.
Technical constraints were apparent from when Archon's Forge, the event, became a real thing. So my job in Rise of Iron was to think of fun activities for players to participate in when they're in the patrol mode. So when I first saw the interior of this space, it screamed out like Coliseum. It screamed out like this is where you go to rumble, and this is where you could have an audience of people kind of looking down on you and watching you just go into this mosh pit.
Almost like 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. Almost
like something out of a popular film. But no, the idea was this is going to be the Coliseum where you go to have your knockdown, drag-out brawls. I see it as kind of a Court of Oryx meets Prison of Elders light. The goal for Archon's Forge from the beginning was, well, Court of Oryx is really cool, like that's its own thing, it should live as its own thing, but if we want to give people a space to say, imagine you're out in patrolling the world and you see one of the enemies moving against each other events. We call those skirmishes internally, and people love going to skirmishes and just wiping out endless waves of guys, but there was never really an incentive to do it. It was just something that kind of happened organically in the world. So what if we gave players an avenue to have those kind of encounters, organically meet up with teammates, add some kind of challenging aspects to it, like when you die in the arena, you're kicked out in the door, you're behind the door. So put some element of risk reward into it, but give players a chance to practice their pure like shooting skill.
Yeah.
No real complicated boss mechanics, just pure going into this mosh pit and brawling and duking it out while having kind of an audience up in this area. We wanted to have some kind of spectator experience as well. Like, I'm in here, I'm doing really well, I die, I go back into this space up here, this waiting area, and there's a chance that, hey, if this guy is solo and he's doing what he needs to do, he could win it for everybody. So you're rooting for the guy in the center to be like, oh, come on, do this, do this, do this. And we also have avenues for players to get back in the fight. So if you complete certain objectives or spend certain currencies up in the observation area, there's a chance you can get back in and help your buddies out. The main gist of the fiction we came up with for the space was the Splicers as a faction have some rules, and they have some structure to their organization. So if you're a member of the Fallen Rank and File and you want to graduate to Splicer, you have to get yourself a SIVA sample and you have to present it to the Archon, and you have to be ritualistically we want to say initiated.
Like trial by combat, trial by fire.
So there's some kind of initiation to join the Splicers, and they do that by seeing if you're worthy of defeating them in combat. If you can become a worthy Splicer, then you can join their ranks. So you see a lot of intentional callbacks to Prison of Elders. We wanted to establish that, in Fallen culture, this is something that they do. Trials by combat are a very common thing, and that's how you rise higher in the ranks of a Fallen like pirate crew, by saying, hey, I can beat this guy up, he's too weak, I can beat this guy up. And the Splicer's goal is to become deified by this technology. They want to get to the rank of a machine god themselves. So the standards for doing that are pretty high. Like, if you want to be a god, you have to be able to at least hold your own with other gods. Coming to the Archon's Forge and presenting the Splicers with more SIVA to add to their arsenal is how they're like, okay, you gave us this, now let's see if you can survive the hardships of being one of us. And so when a Guardian gets one of these samples, you can only imagine, like, oh, what's a really cool thing for Guardians to do to these enemies of the tower? Let's go defile their most sacred ceremonies.
They don't like that. They're not cool with that.
It's like putting a Burger King coupon in the basket they pass around at church. It's
they're out for blood.
When you play the Archon's Forge event, you are getting a taste of this is what the Splicers do to initiate people into their
×5 because they're pissed.
Yeah, they might be going a little harder on you because you're a Guardian. They're not fans of you guys. But you'll see things like these domes that we originally just had in Prison of Elders as these big spectacle pieces, but we thought it would be cool if we brought those back, and it provides us both with a way to get enemies and new objectives into the space, but it also is a cool callback to like, oh, Varix wasn't just messing around when he placed these kind of haphazardly. This is something that is deeply rooted in
like
Fallen culture.
Part of their history that he's bringing forwards and reprising in the modern day in the Reef. So the initial thought, once going back, Colosseum, the Prison of Elders, really, the layout worked very, very well. And if you can tell, it's, sort of reminiscent of one of the wings of Prison of Elders. And that was intentional from an efficiency standpoint. And also, it just works as a shell that we can fill with cool stuff. And so when designing the space, it was, how do we make interesting pockets of gameplay? So over here you have the high ground, and there's ramps and bridges, and we went through a couple of iterations figuring out cover placement and what makes for an interesting space. And so you have the back hallways, which are holdover from the prison, but then the central area has a lot of elevation changes, but other than that, it's relatively open. But there's a lot of tall blinds, we call them, where you can play games of like cat and mouse around them with the enemies. We generally find that, especially in PvP, it's really fun to have those kinds of fights where, you might not be able to see them, but you know where they are, and you're rotating around a pillar, right? And eventually one person might be like, you know what? Screw this, I'm going over the pillar.
Yeah.
Jump up, jump over, and take the enemy from above, and you feel awesome, and you just punch them in the face, and they disintegrate.
Yeah.
It's always a good time.
Yep. It was that foundation of like a solid arena space, plus what can we do to encourage players to like move around from cover to cover, like you'll see that in the actual encounters, but we never wanted people to feel too safe. We never wanted people to feel too sheltered. So that informed a lot of the design, and also giving defining these unique spaces for specific call-outs, like, oh, he's on the high ground, he's over by the magma pit, he's over in the center. And just giving our AI room to make those cool, interesting AI decisions that they make pretty much on their own, without us having to give them a lot of directed, like, hey, specifically do this. We wanted to keep it open so that we could provide a variety of encounters as well. Yeah, the Archon's Forge specifically, we have a number of encounters, and they're all themed around specific combatants. So we wanted to say, hey, we need a space where practically any kind of fallen combatant can move around efficiently, can make those smart AI decisions they need to make, and players can have interesting choices from where they want to fight from as well. If you think of the number of Court of Oryx encounters we had, there's more than that. The trade-off is they're not as mechanically complex as your Court of Oryx fight. Like we said before, the goal here was to make these knockdown, drag-out like brawls, and not have fights that relied specifically on, oh, this certain mechanic is active, you need to kill guys in a specific order. This is just about going in and clearing out waves of guys as fast as possible and just stay alive.
Yeah, like if Court of Oryx was summoning like the equivalent of a MMO world boss, right? This is more along the lines of, I want to go do a firefight where I can just kill and be awesome with my friends and not have to commit to something like, say, a strike.
If you like killing guys in Destiny, this is going to be one of your favorite hangouts.
There was a lot of different roles that this space had to fill, and I feel like it turned out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it.
I'm looking forward to getting it out in the world just to see how people devise their strategies to it, and I can't wait to see like the first group of guys clear the hardest waves in like 30 seconds. Like that's.
And hopefully they won't find too many cheese spots. Fingers crossed.
Okay, so there you go. That was the quick 10-minute gameplay reveal of Archon's Forge, and of course us Guardians here. Sorry there. Us Guardians right here can play the Archon's Forge in 3 weeks, but there are some requirements though. In order to gain access to Archon's Forge, you'll need to complete the entire Rise of Iron campaign in order to unlock this PvE co-op event. I'm pretty sure that's what I've been told. Complete the campaign, and you'll be able to get access to the Archon's Forge. Now, there's a couple of things before we go. We mentioned 3 of the Devil Splicer enemies that we revealed. I missed out on one of them, and obviously we know what it is there. It is the Splicer Captain. Now, obviously with every fallen captain, there is going to be an elemental shield. With the regular fallen, he has like arc. But now, for the Devil Splicer Captain, his elemental's shield is void. Okay? So just make sure you use void weapons on the Splicer Captains in order to weaken him a bit faster. Just thought I'd give you guys a heads up there. And there were 2 materials that are going to be available in Rise of Iron. We saw one of them for sure. It was the Splicer Key. Now, I think the Splicer Key, pretty sure that works out in Archon's Forge, where you present the SIVA offering, and away you go in Archon's Forge. Now, in Archon's Forge, as we saw the gameplay there, in order to get some nice, cool loot / rewards from Archon's Forge, you'll need to survive the Archon's Forge for 5 whole minutes and defeat at least 100% of the enemies. So there's going to be like multiple waves coming in. They're going to keep on coming in until the time is up. So if you succeed If you succeed, kill at least 100% of the enemies, and survive at least 5 minutes inside Archon's Forge, then you'll earn some rewards there. Now, I think at some point there, I think there may be an Ultra Boss in there, but I don't know officially. I think there is one for sure. But more to find out. I don't want to give it all away there, but we'll find out in 3 weeks' time. But here's the bad news, though. If you don't survive for 5 minutes, that's the whole team. If the whole team wipes out, I don't know if you wipe out for 5 minutes there, but it's either one or the other there. If you don't survive for 5 minutes, or if you don't reach 100% enemies killed, you will fail Archon's Forge. So you have to kill the Splicer enemies quicker. Okay, so that's pretty much the information right there. And I think the other material that we know, I think it's called the SIVA Ancestor, I think it is. I know it's SIVA A. I know the second word starts with A there. It's SIVA Ancestor, but it's something like that. Now, as we saw a video there from the Wretched Eye Strike, there appears to be a little bit of a panel there. I think it requires some sort of material there to open up a brand new area. And if you have those materials, you'll be able to gain access to that area and get rid of those SIVA laser force fields there. So that way you can just explore another area. So there you go. We broke it all down here, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot wait to play this. It's in 3 weeks, folks, on September 20th. If you have not pre-ordered Rise of Iron, or if you're planning on playing Destiny for the very first time, pre-order Destiny the Collection ASAP, because you have until September 19th to pre-order it. That's pretty much my suggestion for you guys right there if you want to take part in Destiny. That's all you gotta do. If you pre-order, you'll get 4 art cards, Iron Sigil Keyring, the Galahorn, the Iron one that is, and the Iron Gallowing Sparrow. I know I already pre-ordered. Have you? And are you looking forward to Archon's Forge as well? Let me know in the comments section below. And this would be an excellent time to subscribe to the channel, folks, because, excuse me, not only will I be doing the Rise of Iron campaign, the Strike, and the Raid, good chance I'll be doing the Archon's Forge gameplay as well, and maybe do a video of a tour of Felwinter's Peak there. But who knows? We'll find out in 3 weeks, folks. It is gonna be amazing. So until then, folks, thank you very much for watching, and until we have some more Rise of Iron news, catch you guys next time for more. Peace out, Guardians.